The SmallCapPower CEO interview. Featuring Rye-Patch Gold. Rye-Patch Gold is a Tier 1 Nevada-focused and discovery-driven company seeking to build a sizable inventory of gold and silver resource assets in the mining-friendly state of Nevada, USA. The company's seasoned management team is engaged in the acquisition, exploration, and development of quality resource-based gold and silver projects. Rye-Patch Gold US Inc. is developing gold and silver resources along the emerging Oriana Trend located in west-central Nevada and is exploring 66 square kilometers along the Cortez Trend near Barrick's two new gold discoveries. Since we last spoke to CEO Bill Howald in November 2012, the company hasn't announced any major news. We asked him if the company has been less active from an exploration perspective lately.
Well, quite the opposite. We've been quite busy with 3 drill programs that we just completed in December. We've been compiling that information in January and February, and we just released new results from our Rochester drilling. So we'll have more drill results coming out as we receive them, and so there's still 2 other projects waiting to come out.
One of the most exciting exploration potentials the company has is the Garden Gate project on the Cortez Trend in Nevada. Can you give us an update on where things stand with the exploration on this project?
Sure. We just finished drilling at Garden Gate Pass actually on December 18th. This year or last year we did that program with core drilling. We had some challenging drilling to get through, and it took us a little longer than normal, but we're quite excited by what we see with regard to the alteration in the core and also the types of rocks that we've seen in the core, in that we know we're in the right host rock. We've seen altered carbonates, the same host rock that hosts the gold deposit at Gold Rush, Barrick's Gold Rush deposit, which is just a few kilometers to the north. And if you may have saw Barrick's release, they just announced over 14 million ounces as a new resource update, and of course the deposit is still open to the north and south. And fortunately for us, Barrick is marching rigs towards our property, which is quite exciting. And like I said, we've seen the right host rocks, and so we're quite excited as well.
Further to that, you also have a joint venture with Barrick Gold and McEwen Mining called the Paddy Joint Venture on the Cortez Trend. This project is next to your Garden Gate project and has some ready drill targets. Have you done any work there, and what are your exploration plans this year for the project?
Yes, at the Paddy Joint Venture, again with Barrick and McEwen Mining, that was the 3rd drill program that we finished in early December. There we were a bit hampered with some of the permitting process, and we were unable to drill exactly where we wanted and unable to drill a couple of the targets, but we did complete a little over 5,000 meters of drilling, and again we're waiting on those results to come back, and we'll release those in Q1.
We understand that Rye-Patch is involved in a legal case over the senior LH claims on the Rochester project. When we last talked to you, the trial date was pushed ahead to September 2013. However, there were a few motions still awaiting some decisions from the court. Can you update our viewers on these?
Sure. The Rochester property, the LH claims, that legal dispute is still ongoing. The trial has been postponed until September of 2013. However, we are still working with the court to see if we can't bring the trial date forward. Although to date we haven't heard too much with that regard. But I think really what's happening there is part of that case now sits, or a motion with that dispute sits with the Nevada Supreme Court, and that motion should be resolved sometime in the near future. I can't speak for the court. We don't have any control over dates that they'll release information, but I believe that once that Nevada Supreme Court motion is resolved, the rest of the motions will move forward. We have a number of motions sitting in front of the 6th District Court, which is the court that's hearing the dispute. And I think those will move forward after the Nevada Supreme Court rules. And then hopefully we'll be able to move the trial date up sooner. Although I recall that people said, well, the trial date's a long ways off in September, but here we are, it's almost already March, and September's not that far away.
So is it your understanding that September 23rd is the firm date?
My understanding is that the September 2013 date is a firm date now, and so it's pretty hard to try to keep pushing it backward. And so, we think this case is pretty straightforward. We believe we have a winning position that's based on the mining law and the fact that Coeur d'Alene did not pay their annual claim maintenance fee payments. And we believe that we'll prevail in a trial.
You continue to drill on most of the Rochester property. What kind of results are you getting there?
We just released results from that drilling program, and we're quite excited by what we saw as far as the grades and the thicknesses of mineralization that we encountered at the Mystic area and the South Packard pediment. At South Packard, we were able to infill and show some continuity between mineralization from our first phase of drilling, and at Mystic, we were able to identify several new parallel structural zones that contain significant grades and thicknesses. In addition, off to the west, we looked at a geophysical anomaly that we can trace for over 6 kilometers from Lincoln Hill to the north towards the Packard mine area. And we were quite encouraged by what we saw in the drilling as far as results, some skinny intervals, but it's the first drilling out in a blind covered area, part of the LH claim. So we're quite excited by the fact that we hit some mineralization out there, and we'll need to follow up and do some more work.
RPM stock has declined substantially in the last 3 to 4 months. Do you believe that investors are losing interest in the story since the high-profile legal case has been dragging on for some time and a decision has been pushed off far in the future?
Well, as far as the share price, I think we've tracked right along with the majors and the other companies in the sector. The sector has not been kind to anybody, whether you're Barrick or whether you're Rypatch. So, we hope that the risk trade will come back again. Obviously, the sector has ups and downs. We still believe the fundamentals are in place for the price of gold to go soaring sometime in the future, not only because the U.S. Federal Reserve is spending $85 billion a month buying bonds, but also because inflation eventually is going to kick in as this recession and things start to expand again. So that's coming, and we believe that we're in a pretty good position. And I believe that people who are looking at the sector, whether it be Rypatch, Barrick, or others, those that are on the hunt for good quality will in the future reap the benefits.
It's surprising to see that the stock has declined, although the company has made significant progress in advancing its core projects, Wilco and Lincoln Hill. You now have a resource defined in a pit at these projects. Do you think that investors are ignoring the underlying value in the company inherent in these projects by focusing too much on the Rochester project and the legal case?
Well, Rypatch, has a lot of intrinsic value with the resources it has in the ground. What we did last year was we took those resources at Wilco and Lincoln Hill, and we applied some economics with regard to some benchmarking the operations nearby, Wilco and Lincoln Hill, such as Allied Nevada's Highcroft mine, Japango's Florida Canyon mine, and of course the core Rochester mine itself. We benchmarked costs, mining costs and processing costs, and then coupled that with our own metallurgical information to show that these deposits are very robust at $1,200 gold and $20 silver. So that's quite a discount to even today's gold and silver price. And we believe that with the amount of material that we have, that we'll have an economic project. And to that end, we're working towards a PEA in the second half of 2013. So we'll be able to show that this area, this district, has quite a bit of upside.
What are your plans to advance the resources at the Wilco and Lincoln Hill projects?
To advance the resources at Wilco and Lincoln Hill, it's quite interesting in that at Wilco specifically, what we've seen is there's a lower zone and an upper zone. That contact that makes up the lower zone, we've been able to, or we have theorized that it went underneath the Collado deposit. Last year we stuck a hole underneath Collado, and we were able to intersect that contact zone, and it was mineralized. So we have proof of concept. Right now we have two separate pits with section line and Collado, and we believe with some additional drilling between those two pits that we'll be able to connect them up and thereby add additional and perhaps significant mineralization and gold and silver to the resource there at Wilco. With regard to Lincoln Hill, there's an area in Lincoln Hill where we don't have many drill holes. There the strip ratio is a little higher in the open pit with a 3.6 to 1 strip ratio. We believe with some additional drilling in that area, we'll be able to reduce the strip ratio. Plus, we've got some excellent targets along strike. You recall the Roosevelt zone, we have not drilled that yet. That's an area where we have gold values up to almost 100 grams gold and fairly significant silver value sitting right at the surface. So that's another parallel zone that we'll want to attack this coming year, and that should add significant ounces to Lincoln Hill.
What do you think are the major investment catalysts this year for the company, and what would you consider success in 2013?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're preparing to do a PEA, and what we'll do in that PEA is rather than look at Wilco and Lincoln Hill separately, we'll look at the district as a whole. One thing you may recall that we talked a little bit about a resource coming out at Gold Ridge. So Wilco is to the west, Lincoln Hill is to the east, and Gold Ridge is a piece of property between those two deposits. Last year we drilled on an area, we call it Silver Ridge. We believe we have enough information to put together a resource. So with Wilco, Gold Ridge, and Lincoln Hill, we'll put together a PEA. It'll be sort of a district PEA with the idea of a single operator and multiple ore zones. We'll look at some of our metallurgical testing. Some of the diagnostic metallurgy that we've done to date gives us some options as far as how we process the materials. The majority of the deposits are oxide. There is some non-oxidized material, but some of the grades in that are fairly high. And some of the diagnostic metallurgy tells us that it's fairly easy to extract the gold. So we'll look at all those and combine them to look at the best options for in a PEA, and that'll come out in the second half of this year. So that'll certainly be a milestone with regard to the Oriana trend. Now, all those ounces that we just talked about, none of those are involved in a lawsuit. Those are all 100% Ripatch. We've got the LH claims, and obviously, we're working drilling there. We've got close enough space drilling that we can start to think about putting together a technical report and our own resources on the LH claims as we go forward. And as I said, the trial date is set for 2013 there, but we're pretty confident that if we go forward with a technical report that we'll have those ounces to our account at the end.
To learn more about Ripatch Gold, see their investor hub on SmallCapPower.com. SmallCapPower.com, investment ideas and research.